Audi TT is a neat car. It's long been praised as a stylistic statement piece for the Audi brand, but as a pure driver's car, the TT has struggled to unseat its sports car rivals from BMW and Porsche. Now we have this, the TT RS. If the Audi TT starred in an action movie, the TT RS is what would emerge after the rockin' 80s training montage. It's carried logs through the snow, blasted the speed bag, and sprinted in slow motion through the sand. It's toned and ready to fight. The question is, how does the TT RS fare when the goofball metaphor meets the racetrack?
The TT RS handles great. It's not as raucous as its older sibling, the Audi R8, but it's a lot of fun to drive. The steering is nice and responsive. As you increase the steering input, it gives you a little bit more resistance, so that feels nice. There's minimal body roll. It handles left to right transitions really nicely. It's a really well-sorted car. If I'm being honest, part of me really appreciates the tail-out hooliganism available to you in a rear-drive car, and the all-wheel drive setup puts the kibosh on a lot of that. But it's still a very satisfying car if what you want to do is go fast.
Sitting at the pinnacle of Audi's TT lineup, the TT RS ditches the base car's turbocharged 4-cylinder for a turbocharged 5-cylinder engine, adding an oddly compelling exhaust note and upping the TT's horsepower count from 211 to 360.
In an era where 400 and 500 horsepower cars are pretty common, you might think the 360 horsepower under hood of the TT RS is not enough. Forget all that, plant the throttle, wait for the turbos to kick in, and suddenly 360 horsepower seems like plenty. One hint that the TT RS is a pretty serious car is that it's only being brought to the United States with a manual transmission. And it's actually a really good manual transmission too. Nice, short, precise throws. It's got this really cool ball shifter, which works fantastically ergonomically, and it looks pretty cool too.
Other RS-specific enhancements include adaptive magnetic dampers for the suspension, 14.6-inch front brake rotors with 4-piston calipers, and a 2-mode exhaust system that uses a little flap to switch between quiet and loud modes. There are also a host of interior and exterior tweaks, including special 19-inch wheels, a nicely contoured sports steering wheel, and a fixed rear wing. And while Europeans can choose between coupe and convertible TT RSs, all of the roughly 1,000 cars coming to America over the 2012 and 2013 model years will be coupes.
All told, the TT RS is a pretty neat package, but there are a couple of complaints. The brake and gas pedals are not nicely situated for easy heel-toe downshifts. You can make do, but it could be better. The seats, they're nice and supportive, but probably for somebody who's not my body size. I feel myself kind of slipping out of them in the really hard corners. And the last thing, the stability control system on a track like this when you're really pushing it is totally intrusive. Luckily, you can defeat the system in 2 ways. You can push the button and it goes into a sport mode, or hold it and turn it off completely. I'd go for that second one, except they're not letting us do either of those options out here on the track today. Kind of a bummer. I just have this light flashing at me all the time. Slow down, please. Oh God. Another thing we've noticed is that quick lapping like this, the TT RS continues to tighten the seatbelt, so by the time you get back to the paddock, it's kind of hard to breathe, but safety first.
Ultra-demanding performance enthusiasts might still find the TT's rear-drive competitors more engaging to drive, but the all-wheel drive TT RS wins points as a welcoming performance car option. Sure, all-wheel drive helps get power to the ground, but it also means quick lapping with less chance of a spin, boosting driver confidence. At nearly $58,000 including destination, the TT RS is also a bargain compared to its primary competitor, the less powerful, slower accelerating, and nearly $10,000 more expensive Porsche Cayman R. The TT line deserves a proper top-tier performance model, and the TT RS fills that role nicely. If you manage to snag one of the few cars being imported into the US, I'm sure you'll have a grand time driving it. Just be sure to let us know what it's like with the stability control system off.